I'm Dexter, a boy genius with a secret laboratory in my bedroom. I'm the smartest kid in the world, but my life is complicated. Have you ever wondered what really goes on in the depths of my super secret laboratory and what I do there? What about my family? Well, hold on.
Making me a perpetually laundry fresh genius. Let's give it a whirl.
In this video, I am excited to share my entire story, from the hidden beginnings of my laboratory to the heights of scientific discovery and the enduring friendships that shaped my life. So don't go anywhere, because by the end of this, you'll also become my lab expert, and you won't want to miss any of the mind-blowing stuff I've got in store for you. I may be a kid, but I'm the brainiac of the family, and they don't call me a genius for anything. I've whipped up all sorts of wacky gizmos and incredible experiments. Thanks to my noodle-working brain, my lab is like a treasure trove of weird and amazing stuff. I'm always cooking up something new and exciting down in my lab. But my sister Dee's a bit of a wrecking ball regarding my precious work. She's like a tornado in a china shop.
Dee! Oh! Who's there? Oh!
Constantly busting in and messing up my creations. That's life for me. I'll be down in the lab, dreaming up the next big thing, while Dee's just a hop, skip, and a jump away from turning it into a pile of rubble. It's all in a day's work, I guess. Now let me tell you a secret. I may be highly intelligent, but sometimes my overexcitement gets the best of me, leading to some rather careless choices. It happens to the best of us geniuses, you know. The funniest part is that I've managed to keep my top secret laboratory hidden from my parents. They're cheerful, clueless, and, well, quite oblivious.
Hi, Dee and Dexter.
Hi, Dad.
Even when my lab's right under their noses, they never notice it. It's rather comical, to be honest. And my Russian accent is a bit of a quirk. It's a nod to Gendy Tartakovsky's own accent from his childhood. Some even tried prank calls with accents like mine while we were at Cal Arts. My favorites are Major Glory, Action Hank, and Good Old Monkey. I have a soft spot for those with superpowers and nifty gadgets just like me. But there's something quite peculiar about my dear monkey. I've tried everything in my genius mind to make him into something amazing. But every time I turn around, he's just a monkey. It's a head scratcher for sure. Yet, when I'm not looking when I least expect it, Monkey transforms into an incredible superhero.
Say, what's going on here?
It's like he's got this secret identity that I can't quite crack. And believe me, I've tried. My laboratory has my most observant and flawless machines, but they can't catch Monkey's transformation. And I don't even know about his superhero alter ego. It's like he's hiding this whole other side from me. But deep down, I still idolize Monkey as much as I do my other heroes. Something about that little guy keeps me guessing, and that's part of the fun. Now, let me just tell you about my birth and early childhood. I made my grand debut at the local Genius Grove Hospital. Now, my dad was over the moon, all happy and excited, right up until he clapped eyes on my head, which...
And share and pull strength from each other for the day ahead.
Let's go see ya.
Well, let's just say it was a real head-turner. He was freaking out, thinking something might be wrong. But guess what? The doctors put their thinking caps on and voila, discovered the reason for my colossal noggin was that I was a bona fide genius. My brain needed that extra space to store all the genius stuff. Mom and Dad couldn't have been prouder once they heard that news. They even slapped a pair of glasses on me like it was some sort of genius crown. So, with their heads held high and their little genius in tow, they brought me home to meet my sister, Dee. But that's where the real adventures began. Dee, without meaning to, became my very first tormentor. She had this knack for...
You're Dexter! Boy genius! Geniuses don't cheat! Geniuses aren't sissy cheaters! Sissy cheater?
Well, let's call it accidentally, messing up my stuff. My dad's funny. He often seems to like my sister, Dee, more because she's great at sports. But occasionally, he'll root for me, especially when we're having a boys versus girls challenge. The tricky part is that my dad gets pretty upset when I mess with his sports stuff. If I accidentally disrupt his biggest golf match of the year or break his bowling trophy, he's not happy. But deep down, he's closer to me. We've got a special bond. He's always ready to make me happy.
Dexter, son, snap out of it, boy! Come on, D-Man!
I remember when he really wanted my help to win some muffins. And I have a special connection with my mom, too. It's like I got my smarts from her side of the family, especially from my grandpa. But she has her moments that make me cringe. Like this one time, she totally embarrassed me at a chess tournament. She was trying to cheer me on, but ended up causing such a commotion that I got disqualified. I appreciate her support, but it was embarrassing. On the flip side, my mom can be pretty strict, too. I sometimes get a bit scared when she's really upset. She's not afraid to hand out punishments and can get even tougher than Dad. She doesn't take nonsense from me. The slightest objection can set her off. As soon as I could crawl, I was off to the races. I was building gadgets, studying technology, and basically turning into a mini genius. But guess what? Dee Dee was the monkey in my wrench. That's how it went until I was 7. And then I found this hidden, empty space in our house. I had a light bulb moment. I'd turn it into my top secret laboratory, away from Dee Dee's prying eyes. But, as luck would have it, Dee Dee, one day, stumbled into my room while I was in my lab. She uncovered the bookshelf that led to my secret lab, pulled out the book, and, well, that's how she discovered Dexter's Lab. Since then, it's been a wild ride of sibling antics and scientific brilliance, with Dee Dee ever the thorn in my side.
What does this button do? Stop, stop, stop! You are erasing vital information! You must leave at once! You are wreaking havoc on my brain!
And that is how it all began for this young genius, me, Dexter. Okay, now, let's take a trip down memory lane into the chapter of my life when I entered the wild world of school. Off to Huber Elementary School I went, and guess what? Right out of the gate, they crowned me the king of smarts. All the teachers couldn't get enough of me. They treated me like their superstar friend. You may be thinking, what about other kids? Well, let's just say they were jealous of my brain power. Life was sweet. But then, there came the turn of the tide. The new school year rolled around, and with it, a mysterious kid, a young chap known as Mandark. He quickly morphed into my rival extraordinaire. From the very moment we locked eyes, Mandark dropped a truth bomb when he told me he was smarter than me, hands down. And if that wasn't enough, he became the teacher's pet, which was like a double whammy. The whole school was smitten with the guy. Now, desperate to show that I was still numero uno, I decided to play my trump card. I introduced Mandark to my secret laboratory, thinking it would prove my genius beyond any doubt. But I was shocked that Mandark had an ace up his sleeve. He showed me an even bigger, chenier, and more dazzling laboratory. He gave me an ultimatum: shut down my lab or be his lackey. I was in a real pickle until something rather unexpected happened. Mandark fell head over heels, in love with none other than my sister, Dee Dee. He asked me to convince my sister of him. I got a bit angry at first, but then I hatched a genius plan to turn the tables. I spilled the beans to Mandark, telling him how to lure Dee Dee to his lair using candy and a bit of dancing. I knew that once Dee Dee was asked to dance, it was like inviting a cyclone of destruction.
All you have to do is...
Off she went on a ballet rampage, obliterating Mandark's precious laboratory. On the other hand, I watched the whole show on my trusty spy cams, raising a glass to my beloved lab and reactivating my trusty companion, the computer. And just like that, the tables turned. I became the supreme boy genius, while Mandark was left eating my dust as my forever one step behind rival. That marked the beginning of my peculiar everyday life, filled with crazy adventures and countless challenges while dealing with Dee Dee's shenanigans and keeping my lab under wraps. Shortly after my first run-in with Mandark, I was back at school, feeling on top of the world, and couldn't resist sharing my big news. I was all set to rock the town science fair. Naturally, my classmates started singing my praises, and I must admit, I soaked up all that adoration like a sponge. I made it clear that I was the genius in town, and that victory at the science fair was as good as mine.
Yes, Dexter, I can read your thoughts, and I am smarter than you.
Mandark, sulking in the back of the class, was absolutely seething with frustration. He couldn't contain his anger any longer. He called out everyone for their obsession with me, telling our teacher, Mr. Lazinski, to hold his horses. According to Mandark, I didn't deserve all that applause, especially after what had gone down. Yes, you guessed it! Me wrecking his lab and playing the DD card. Mandark, with his fiery determination, thought of his grand master plan. He made it clear that he was marching right into the town science fair with one mission: to take me down. Plain and simple. But me, I remained as cool as a cucumber, brushing off his threats and paying him no mind. I was just doing my thing, even when my ever-watchful sister, Dee Dee, tried to offer wise advice. Now, fast forward to the big day of the fair. I was on the verge of clinching the win with my robotic arm invention, but Mandark made his grand entrance, dressed like a sorcerer and lugging a mysterious golden box.
Hello? Is anybody home?
Despite my best protests, they welcomed him into the fair. Then things got seriously wacky. Mandark whipped out some otherworldly, interdimensional magic and summoned this critter, Jojo, who swiped Dee right from under our noses. Panic time! Believe it or not, Mandark and I had to swallow our pride and launch a rescue mission to save her. We did it, and Dee Dee showed her appreciation with a little peck on my cheek. Mandark, however, was less than thrilled about the whole lovey-dovey scene, but briefly, we'd buried the hatchet and made peace. For a minute, we may have patched things up, or so it looked when we got a blue ribbon prize. But we couldn't agree on sharing it, and just like that, our rivalry was back in full swing. One day, on a regular school day, we were watching a documentary about Mount Rushmore. My buddy Timothy mentioned the idea of bringing those presidential sculptures to life. I, being the tech wizard I am, went on a whole spiel about using tripolar Frankensteinian electrodes to make it happen. I was all in for causing some chaos and destruction with these animated presidents.
Mandark!
Surprise, Dexter!
What are you doing here?
I've come to take your memories away.
Little did I know, Mandark was all ears. He was writing down every word, not missing a beat. He had a plan in mind. The next day, I mind my own business, planting a cherry tree when it's suddenly sliced in half by a giant stone axe. The once stone-cold statue of George Washington is now brought to life under Mandark's control. Washington went on a rampage, smashing my home and lab. I had no choice but to beat a hasty retreat. But then, Dee Dee gave me a penny, and something clicked. I got inspired to take matters into my own hands and head to Mount Rushmore to bring my own sculpture to life. Meanwhile, Mandark, thinking he had already won, was chilling in my pool with Washington when, out of nowhere, I showed up with my very own animate statue of Abraham Lincoln. The showdown of the century was on. The boys and their animated statues went head-to-head in an epic battle.
It seems that we are evenly matched. Yes, I cannot tell a lie.
It seemed like the statues were evenly matched, and they even started talking about their equal might, giving each other compliments. Eventually, they called a truce, leaving Mandark and me scratching our heads in frustration. The statues then decided to go on a little adventure and munch on some bricks. And that is how a regular school day turned into an epic clash of animated presidents and a lesson in statue diplomacy. What happened next will be as surprising for you as it was for me. You know how I had my ongoing battle with Mandark, right? Well, now our sisters decided to get in on the action. It all started when Dee Dee and Mandark's little sister, whose name was Olga Astronominov, but preferred being called Lalavava, locked horns. They both set their sights on a solo role in the upcoming dance recital. The competition was fierce, and these two were going like there was no tomorrow.
We guess you got a stupid brother with a secret lab, too. Yep. Science stinks. Yep. Want to go to the mall?
But then, something strange happened. The solo role became a duet, and both girls were not thrilled about having to share the spotlight. That's when they hatched a plan and decided to get their big brothers involved. Dee Dee, always the sweet talker, asked me if I could help her out. But on the flip side, Mandark's sister was a bit more, let's say, assertive. She basically twisted Mandark's arm and threatened him into helping her out. Now, the night of the recital arrives. Dee Dee wields the Dexo Transformer, while Lalavava, Mandark's sister, gets her hands on the Mandark Transformer. They whip up a deadly destructive dance routine that ends up causing chaos and obliterating the whole dance theater. After all that mayhem, they finally come to their senses and realize that our brilliant brothers had been dragged into their rivalry. They agreed that science was overrated and that their brothers were, in their own words, stupid. A truce was called, and they decided it was time to make amends. So, off they went to the mall, leaving all the drama behind. Dance rivalry brought Dee Dee and Lalavava together, even after a dance disaster.
Let me guess. You got a stupid brother with a secret lab, too. Yep. Science stinks.
During my childhood, I accidentally let loose the mother of all monsters, Bad Extra. This beast tasted destruction, and humanity was on the menu. So, desperate times called for desperate measures. I had no choice but to reveal my super secret laboratory to my parents. I needed their help, as well as Dee Dee's, to save the day. And I had to pilot my greatest fighting rowboat, the Multiformic Megabot, to go head-to-head with Bad Extra. Now, at the outset, it looked pretty bleak. We were no match for Bad Extra's sheer power. But in the end, it wasn't just brains and brawn that saved the day. We had to unite our hearts. And guess what? Even Monkey joined us to put the smackdown on Bad Extra. It was a wild and intense battle, but we finally managed to take down the vile beast once and for all. And to keep our secret lab safe, I used my memory eraser ray on my parents to wipe their memories clean of the whole ordeal. That way, they'd never remember the secret lab they'd discovered. However, the story doesn't end there. Monkey used that memory eraser ray on me, making me forget not only the whole monster takedown, but also that I was the hero of the day. And you won't believe what happened next.
Dexter, we need to straighten a few things out with this secret laboratory business.
With my memory wiped, Mandark swooped in and took all the credit for saving the day. So that's the thrilling and somewhat confusing story of how I battled Badaxtra, only to have my memory wiped and my arch nemesis steal the glory. But that's life in the world of a boy genius like me. As I cruised through my childhood, misadventures and peculiar encounters seemed to be my daily bread. Her heart, Dee Dee, kept up her relentless antics, and Mandark remained a thorn in my side, always scheming to outsmart me. Life was wild and unpredictable, but I took it all in stride. Then one day, I created something that would change everything, the neuratomic protocore. This contraption was a game changer, a world-altering invention with the power to revolutionize everything. And that's when the tables turned big time. Mandark, my longtime rival, went from being a mere opponent to a full-blown evil arch-enemy. The reason? He saw the potential of the neurotomic protocore. With this device in hand, he could become the world's all-powerful ruler.
The neurotomic protocore? Hello, what are these?
Which was a game changer for our rivalry. The competition, the pranks, the squabbles, they all evolved into something more sinister. Mandark was now determined to swipe my greatest creation and wipe me off the face of the planet to achieve his vision of total supremacy. Our rivalry shifted from comedic and destructive to something fueled by pure hatred and deadly force. Despite Mandark's relentless attempts, he never got his hands on the protocore during our childhood. It was during this period that my life took an even weirder turn. I was ambushed by a gang of robots who were hell-bent on destroying the one who saved the future. Naturally, they believed that someone was me. In a storm of action, I had to battle these robots and use my trusty time machine to fast forward and see how I'd save the future. Flash forward many years, and I and Mandark found ourselves in our teenage and landed some cushy jobs at a powerhouse company known simply as the Corporation. We were research scientists tasked with conjuring up ideas to make the future brighter. Now, right off the bat, it became clear that I was an idea machine, constantly churning out brilliant innovations, while Mandark seemed stuck in creative quicksand. But Mandark, sly as ever, couldn't stand the idea of losing to me. He began to pilfer my ideas, presenting them as his own to the corporation's bigwigs. This devious plan catapulted Mandark up the corporate ladder, and he eventually seized control of the entire company. He became the all-powerful executive Mandark. Now Mandark was the richest and most influential person on the planet. The world underwent major technological and social changes. Everyone had their names replaced by ID numbers, and all those under Executive Mandark's thumb, including yours truly, were reduced to mere work slaves. We had to obey his every command or face severe consequences. Even I couldn't escape this fate. I became number 12, regularly subjected to Mandark's torture.
I have come from the past to find out how we save the future, your all-knowing presence.
He broke me down until I was a trembling, bumbling, cowardly version of my former self. Mandark got his revenge, but he still hadn't found the elusive neurotomic protocore. But here's the twist you won't see coming. My younger self had traveled into the future, all because he believed he had saved the future and become the coolest person ever. Little did he know, my own house was now occupied by strangers who promptly reported him to the police. They wanted to toss him in jail and put him to hard labor. Lucky for him, he gave them the slip. However, he soon encountered a robot who recognized him as number 12, his future self. The realization hit him like a ton of bricks. He allowed the robot to take him to what he thought was the corporation, only to find a different and very disappointed version of himself.
I know that's you, Dexter, and don't think I haven't forgotten what you did to me. I'm still gonna get you, Dexter.
I reminded my older self that I used to be Dexter Boy Genius. The young me convinced number 12 to help him overthrow Mandark. With a hint of my old confidence returning, number 12 fished out his gloves and a hidden treasure, the neurotomic protocore. Together, we escaped our jobs and traveled forward in time to meet our even older selves. But number 12 made a grave mistake. He left the neurotomic protocore exposed, and that's when Executive Mandark finally got his hands on it. His dark dreams were about to become a horrifying reality. When we got to a very faraway future, number 12 and I were in a museum. When we walked into a museum, we were shocked to see that it was all about us. Well, the future versions of us. It was a real head-scratcher. We found what was left of Mandark, or should I say Braindark. He'd lost his body, and we had no clue how that happened. All we knew was he'd been locked up in this museum for quite some time.
There's nothing left of Mandark but his lame brain.
I heard that.
Before we knew it, the museum's curator showed up and recognized us as the younger versions of the legendary leader. Yours truly, Dexter. We were taken outside, and there it was, Dextopia, my perfect future kingdom. It was a land of happiness, health, and nifty technology for all. The next stop was my older self's palace. The voice that greeted us boomed with power, but to our surprise, it was none other than Old Man Dexter. Time had taken its toll on him, and he was frail as a leaf. It was quite a meeting. We hoped he'd tell us how he'd save the future, but there was a problem. Old Man Dexter couldn't remember. When we arrived at our lab, we found it in shambles, practically destroyed. But that was just the beginning of the shocker. The whole world was in ruins, a vast red wasteland. It was like a nightmare. We stumbled upon a village of, well, let's call them idiots. Young Dexter tried to help by giving them fire, but in a flash, a horde of robots, known as the Overlord's Machine Men, showed up and wrecked the place. The poor village went up in smoke. It was a disaster.
By order of the Overlord, all science is prohibited. The creation of fire is a punishable offense.
But a mysterious hero on a motorcycle appeared out of nowhere and took down those pesky robots. And guess what? That hero was none other than our middle-aged self, the mighty Action Dexter. It was like meeting our future selves all over again. We had many questions, and Action Dexter was our key to unlocking the answers. He told us about his youth and what had gone down in the world. It all started when number 12, me, returned from our little time travel adventure with our past and future selves. I'd left my neurotomic protocore lying around, and do you know who snatched it? Mandark, Of course, Mandark tried to control its power, but flipped the core's flow to negative. That thing turned him into a power-hungry evil overlord who enslaved Earth. He became Overlord Mandark, the supreme ruler of the world. With the world's population now as dim-witted as a bag of hammers, Mandark had an easy time seizing control of everything. Societies, technology, knowledge, you name it. He hoarded it all for himself. The world was under his thumb.
Many moons ago, Mandark and I were employed by the corporation as research scientists to develop new technologies for the betterment of the future.
As for me, well, I'd spent years living underground, away from all that craziness, digging and fighting the Overlord's robots to survive. The core's negative energy had turned everyone on the surface into, well, idiots. Now, with this backstory, the four of us knew we had to stop Overlord Mandark's evil reign once and for all. We got busy creating our most versatile and powerful mech, yet a giant robot that could help us storm Mandark's castle. We rolled up at Mandark's castle in our new ultimate mech, ready to take down his army of robots. Unbeknownst to us, the big cheese himself, Overlord Mandark, got wind of our arrival and was not pleased. Our invasion pushed on. We fought off robot after robot, even though our mech took a beating. We got through the castle's defenses and landed in Mandark's chamber. It was on. The next day, we rolled up at Mandark's castle in our new ultimate mech, ready to take down his army of robots. Unbeknownst to us, the big cheese himself, Overlord Mandark, got wind of our arrival and was not pleased. Our invasion pushed on. We fought off robot after robot, even though our mech took a beating. We got through the castle's defenses and landed in Mandark's chamber. It was on. Overlord Mandark, overweight and gloating, welcomed us, lifted by his crane. But Action Dexter was having none of it. He was determined to take Mandark down, but Mandark had a trick up his sleeve, his own time machine. Which brought in young Mandark, Executive Mandark, and Braindark to take us on. The Dexters squared off against the Mandarks. Young Dexter and Mandark duked it out like kids on the playground. Executive Mandark overpowered number 12 with his insecurities. Overlord Mandark and Action Dexter traded heavy blows, and Braindark and Old Man Dexter traded some not-so-nice words. It was a family showdown, us versus the Mandarks. We were ready to reclaim my core and save the world. But let me tell you, it was no easy feat. We faced off and exchanged punches, taunts, and memories. The Mandarks had the upper hand initially, but they clearly underestimated the power of a determined Dexter.
Oh, forget it. Time travel hurts on my brain.
Number 12, who had been pushed around by Executive Mandark for far too long, finally snapped when his glasses got crushed. That unleashed his inner strength, and he completely obliterated Executive Mandark. It was a long overdue victory for number 12, and he even swiped Executive Mandark's glasses as a trophy. With his confidence back, number 12 transformed back into good old Dexter and shared the solution with us. He told us that if we set the protocore back to a positive flow, everything would return to normal. The tide was turning in our favor. Action Dexter used his wrench to disable Overlord Mandark's crane, making him immobile. Young Dexter gave young Mandark's nose a little pinch, and Old Man Dexter, ignoring Braindark's taunts, got back on his feet. The path to the core was clear, but the Mandarks, despite their earlier defeats, weren't giving up that easily. As we chanted, "Go Dexter, go!" to motivate each other, young Dexter slowly approached the positive flow button. Just when things seemed to be going our way, a curveball was thrown at us.
All hail the great and powerful Dexters.
Proof at the last.
Dee Dee, always curious and with good intentions, arrived from the future and rushed past the Dexters and Mandarks. As she passed them, the Mandarks briefly reverted to their old selves and swooned over their long-lost crush, Dee Dee. Dee Dee then unknowingly pushed the positive flow button, saving the future. Our heroic moment was shattered. The world was back to its vibrant self, and humans were intelligent again. The Mandarks were zapped back to their own time, while Overlord Mandark's castle crumbled, leaving only his brain, turning him into Braindark. It seemed like everything was back to normal, but we were fuming. We Dexters were all set set to be the heroes, but Dee Dee unknowingly took the glory. Out of anger and frustration, we decided to invent robots that would go back in time and, well, try to destroy Dee Dee for ruining our adventure. We were not too pleased about it. After settling the matter with the Mandarks and liberating the world, Action Dexter decided to use the neurotomic protocore for good and build a new world, Dextopia. It would be a place where knowledge and technology were shared and fairness reigned supreme. We all bid each other farewell, and Action Dexter, having found Mandark's brain, put it in a jar with a communicator where he would spend the rest of his days as punishment for his crimes.
Cool in the future? Did you see those moves?
Back in our respective times, young Dexter saw his past self fighting the very robots he had created to destroy the one who saved the future. It created quite the time paradox. But young Dexter decided to shrug it off and go have a sandwich. As for Dee Dee, she was once again left out of the adventure. And I guess it's safe to say that we all went back to our usual lives, with me trying to ignore Dee Dee as best as I could. Well, as I look back on my life, it's been quite the journey. I've worn many hats, you could say. From the downtrodden days as number 12 to my heroic stint as Action Dexter, I've seen my fair share of adventures. But what really takes the cake is my time as the elderly ruler of Dextopia. Yes, that's old man Dexter for you.
Ah, buck up, hero. We found the lab and we can all help.
The laboratory?
I oversaw a flourishing kingdom, ensuring prosperity for all. Ah, the golden years, they were indeed memorable. And who could forget my dear sister, old gal Dee Dee? She was right there with me through it all. Even as I grew somewhat senile, she was a constant presence, ensuring I didn't stray too far from reality. Life's funny that way, isn't it? A genius like me, experiencing the full spectrum of life, from the highs to the lows, all with a touch of family by my side. Did you find my story interesting? What's your favorite part? Let me know in the comment section to keep the conversation going, and check out the channel for more such interesting stories. See ya!